Yeah, I just watched Clara's video, a few times, and the words really made me wonder about some different things, trying to answer the questions, or think about the questions being asked there. If you don't share certain things about you outwardly, what happens to them? Do they die with you? If they're unexpressed, if they're unshared, and if they're unloved parts. So that's the computer screen there, and I made a note. But that's the screensaver with some. Oh, the star is there, like the hermit. That was a reading that was done for me. But anyway, if I never dare to bring them out in the open, then do they die with me? Clara's asking. Deep reflections. I think that I just when I made a comment, I think water came up in one of my comments, because it's like reflections, isn't it? What you get reflections in water, among other places as well, But water, you can have reflections. Water is reflected, and if something is unexpressed about us, do we know what it is until it's expressed, or do we have a sense of what it is, and we're just trying to find out what it is? What would it be once it is expressed? In other words, does it find full shape only once it is shared, or if it's given form? And then does it depend on what form it's given? So I thought, because I wrote down the words that Clara said, and it's like a poem in and of itself. So I was thinking, that is an expression of it, but it's not it, or rather, it's an expression of, and it's an expression of the unexpressed. And you get that movement in art called expressionism, don't you? And I don't know exactly what that. I think it's something to do with like trying to. It's not supernaturalistic, is it? It's like the idea of trying to convey inner states through imagery. And I suppose there's expressionistic poetry as well, so that conveying out inner states and trying to make them outward, but it's not as though you can just do it in a direct way, because there's something, in some ways, in some of the inner states, some of the inner aspects of us, there's something ineffable, something that's inexpressible, but it is expressible through certain forms that are, I suppose, certain creative forms. They could be thought forms, or meditation forms, or poetical forms, or visual arts, or music, or just sound, colour, or a story, so that it's put into some other language. And I suppose there are elements that you might feel, or a person might feel, yeah, I've got quite a strong handle on this, but I'm not going to express it. Or where can I express it? Where is it safe to do that, in which it won't be turned into something else, or viewed as something else which you don't think it is, in which it won't be discounted or derided, or you made to feel shameful for it, or whatever the case might be, or that people just don't connect with it. So you think, well, what's it meant to connect to then? There's this letter that Emily Dickinson wrote, and I know Liz, Cup of Tea with Poetry, reads a lot of Emily Dickinson, but there's one of the letters that she wrote, and she tells it as a little kind of tale about a bird, seeing a bird singing in the garden, and she asks the bird, well, why are you singing if nobody's listening? And the bird said, it's my business to sing. And that's the kind of homily or little story or example of, do you have to have a receiver? But then maybe that calls into question, well, can the receiver not be you? So there's you and you. I don't mean multiple selves necessarily, but you can have dialogues with yourself, can't you? So the other bit was, so you can share it with yourself, but then there's the need to share it outwardly. Certain things for acceptance, to be understood, the sort of journey. Amanda did a video about journeys and the journey of life and the journeys within the journey of life, small journeys as part of a big journey. And so what does that mean? Why did I say that? What was I saying about the journeys? I can't remember, but it was to do with this expressionism, expressing unshared. Yeah, that's part of our, or I don't know if it is. Is it part of our journey to consolidate? Is that the word? But I don't even know if it's about that. Maybe we just don't have to know. We don't have to alienate those elements. If we can find an auditor, as just somebody who listens, or even if it was a tree or something, or an animal, or anything, or the sky. And then the other thing is, if you find a form for it as well, if you want to find a form, but it's got its own form, but if you wanted to transliterate it into a form like a poem or a song or just a diary entry or the video in which those words are spoken, that's the form as well. And another thing I thought was, we don't have to share everything for it to be accepted. I'm just thinking that now. We can accept it. We just can't accept ourselves. I mean, I think so. I mean, there might be bits where that's a struggle. I find that. And I think Dan mentioned Jung, didn't he? And I think the idea of the shadow and shadow, accepting the shadow self, or at least negotiating with it or incorporating it. I don't know if the shadow's real. It might be real. I don't know. I don't know what it is and what it changes to. I don't see a separate. I'm not feeling a separate division between the persona and the shadow. And maybe he's not saying that. But the other thing about Clara's video is that what happens to things if fear stops you expressing them? What state do they then reside in? Are they diminished then? Is that being questioned? It's almost like, are they a seed or something that you're never going to put into the ground, or you're never going to just allow to see what it becomes even? Because you don't know what it's going to become. And maybe sometimes they're intimations of something that you could only know what it would be until you spoke it. You don't know what it would fully be until you spoke it. And it might not need speaking with another person that has to get it or anything, or has to have an attitude towards it, or an acceptance even. I don't know. Those are just some of the thoughts that I thought about after watching and during watching the short video that Clara did, because they're posing really interesting ideas, and well, it's more than interesting. It's sort of well, the first two words is deep reflection. So yeah, it's deep reflection, deep reflectiveness. But anyway, it's all good, you know. It's all good because it is.